How's it going, folks? I'm Des with DesFit, and a question that came up quite a bit in the comments section of my Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 in-depth review is what's the difference between the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Garmin Venu 2? So that's what this video is all about. So both of these are smartwatches with great looking touchscreen displays, both have GPS for tracking outdoor activities, and both of them also have heart rate sensors for tracking all those health metrics. But there's a difference in the smartwatch experience between these two, as well as the kind of data that these devices collect, as well as the accuracy of that data. So in this video, I'll be covering the differences from a feature standpoint, but I also have some real life examples where I was wearing the Venu 2 on one wrist and the Watch 4 on the other, just to give you a good idea of the differences in GPS and heart rate accuracy. But I also do have some full in-depth reviews of both these devices, which I'll have linked down in the description below, which I encourage you to check out once you're done over here. So I'm going to try to cover as many things as possible in this video, but if you have anything additional to share, make sure to leave a comment down in the comment section down below. And if the information in this video does help you out at all, don't be shy about hitting that like button, as it definitely helps this video and the channel out quite a bit, and I appreciate it. So I think the most important thing to cover right out of the gate is that the Watch 4 is only compatible with Android phones. You won't be able to pair the Watch 4 with an iPhone, but with the Venu 2, you can pair this with either an iPhone or an Android phone. So with that big requirement out of the way, let's talk about the hardware. So the Garmin Venu 2, it's a great looking watch, and it comes in two different sizes, a 40mm version and a 45mm version, and it comes in a variety of color options. They have a nice stainless steel bezel on the outside, with the rest of the case being made out of plastic, and the display is protected by Corning Gorilla Glass 3. With the Galaxy Watch 4, there's actually two different versions to choose from, the Galaxy Watch 4 and then the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic, with the standard Watch 4 being made out of aluminum and the Classic being made out of stainless steel. And then in addition, the Classic version gets a physical rotating bezel, where the standard Watch 4 has a touch-sensitive bezel. And then with both versions of the Galaxy Watch 4, they come in a small and large size option with each of them, and again, lots of color options. For the displays, all of these watches have really great looking touchscreen displays, with the display sizes being quite similar between these small and large variants of each of them, but the pixel density is going to be a little bit better on the Samsungs. Both of these do have an always-on display mode, but using that feature will take a hit on battery life, which I guess let's just go ahead and talk about that right now, and there's going to be a big difference between these two in this department. So with the smaller Galaxy Watch 4s, you can probably get about a day out of them before you have to recharge them, and then with the Venu 2S, which is the smaller of the Garmin Venus, you can get about 5 to 7 days, and then with the larger size options, you can get about a day and a half out of the larger Watch 4, where you can get over a week out of the larger Venu 2. Now, your mileage will vary depending on how many outdoor activities that you're tracking, as well as how much you're interacting with the watch, like for calls and texts and stuff like that. But there is a big difference in terms of the day-to-day battery life. And then for GPS battery life, in terms of tracking outdoor activities, with the smaller Watch 4, you can get a total of about 6 hours, and then a total of about 8 hours on the larger Watch 4. And then with the Venu 2S, you can get up to 19 hours of GPS battery life and up to 22 hours on the larger Venu 2. So now with battery life out of the way, let's talk about the smartwatch features. So like I mentioned earlier, the Watch 4s are only compatible with Android phones, where with the Venu 2s, you can pair these with either an iPhone or an Android phone, but the smartwatch experience will differ depending on which phone that you have. So with the Galaxy Watch 4s, you'll be able to take calls directly on the watch itself using its onboard microphone and speaker. And with the Venu 2, you'll be able to answer or decline the call, but you'll actually be speaking on the phone, as it lacks the microphone and speaker for calls. And then for texting, with the Watch 4s, you'll be able to reply to messages using quite a robust variety of options, like an on-screen keyboard, voice dictation, as well as writing on the screen. And with the Venu 2, you will be able to reply if you have an Android phone, but these are going to be predefined responses that you'll set up in Garmin Connect, but you can set up custom messages if you like. And if you're on an iPhone, you will be able to view those messages, but you won't be able to reply, and that's due to Apple's lockdown on their own ecosystem. But there is another advantage on the smartwatch end of things on the Galaxy Watch 4s, and that's the availability of an LTE option, which allows you to stay connected with calls and text without having to have your phone on you. And currently, there isn't a cellular model of the Venu 2 available. However, the Venu 2 does have some safety and tracking features, including something called instant detection, which can attempt to detect when you've, let's say, crashed on your bike, and what it can do is send out an alert to emergency contacts that you set up in Garmin Connect. And while we're talking about connectivity, both of these have Wi-Fi, and they also both have Bluetooth, so you can pair them to Bluetooth headphones to listen to music. And with both devices, there's a good amount of options for offline music storage and playback with music streaming services. So with the Venu 2, it currently has support for Spotify, Deezer, and Amazon Music. And with the Watch 4, it's a little bit more flexible in this department due to the fact that it does have Wear OS integration, where there's also apps for YouTube Music and a few others. And I'm pretty sure more music services will be added to both of these devices in the future, but that's currently what's available right now, and I think there's actually a pretty good amount of options for both of these devices. There's also another interesting advantage with the Galaxy Watch 4 since it runs Wear OS, and that's the fact that it has Google Maps on the watch itself, which the Venu 2 doesn't have any maps. So now onto the health and fitness features. So both of these have GPS for tracking speed and distance for outdoor activities. Both of them have barometric altimeters for tracking elevation gain. Both have heart rate sensors, and then both of them also do have SpO2 sensors for measuring your blood oxygen saturation levels. In regards to the SpO2 accuracy for measuring blood oxygen saturation levels, both are within the same ballpark, but I do find the Venu 2 to be a bit closer to a medical grade fingertip blood oxygen sensor. But there are a couple features that the Watch 4 does have that aren't available on the Venu 2, and these are going to be body composition measurements, ECG, as well as blood pressure monitoring. With the body composition measurements, this is sort of a neat feature where you'll be able to get stuff like your body fat percentage using the same sort of technology that you find in body composition scales. And my initial results with this weren't all that great with the numbers that were changing drastically by the minute, but I have seen improvements with this over some firmware updates. And then with ECG and blood pressure monitoring, the big thing to take away here is that these features are only available if you have a Samsung Android phone. These aren't going to be available on a regular Android phone. And not only that, the blood pressure monitoring is only available if you have a non-US version of the Galaxy Watch 4. Both have sleep tracking, and they both did a good job in tracking the time I went to bed as well as woke up. And on this night's sleep, the numbers lined up very well between these two devices, although the sleep score that they provided was a little off. But on this night, I'd probably say that it had a sleep score of about 50, so splitting the difference between the two, I suppose. In terms of the sleep stages, pretty similar again, but the Venu 2 did give me a bit more credit for deep sleep. And the Galaxy Watch 4 also has snore detection, which requires you to have your phone next to your bed to record the actual snoring, and it said that I snored for about 8 minutes. The Google Sleep Monitor that I have also has snore detection, and it said I snored for about 2 minutes, and it was right around the same time the Galaxy Watch 4 detected it as well. But funny enough, it was just more heavy breathing than actual snoring according to the audio recorded on my phone. So when it comes to what type of activities these watches can track for these sport profiles, the Venu 2 has stuff like walking and running for outdoors and indoors, cycling both outdoors and indoors, pool swimming, gym profiles like strength training and high intensity interval training, hiking, yoga, as well as gym equipment like elliptical, the stair stepper, and rowing machines. And then there's outdoor recreation profiles like stand-up paddleboarding, golf, skiing, and snowboarding. And then with the Galaxy Watch 4s, it has a very similar list of the common activity profiles, but it also does have an open water swimming profile. And then it has a bunch of these additional profiles that you can add. So most of these profiles are individual exercises that are part of a larger exercise routine, but you may notice it doesn't come with a lot of the outdoor recreational profiles that are found in the Venu 2. Now, those are the stock workout profiles that come standard on the Watch 4 with Samsung Health, but you can extend the functionality of the Watch 4 since it does have access to the Google Play Store, so like you can get stuff like skiing and golf apps. And it is great that you can extend the functionality of the Watch 4 with some of those third-party apps, but one thing to consider is that all that stuff is just kind of baked into the Venu 2 straight out of the box, and you'll be managing all that data in just one place. So it is great that you can replicate some of the functionality on the Watch 4 with those third-party apps, but you may be managing multiple apps. So with the smartwatch features, I'd have to say that the Galaxy Watch 4 does have the lead if you own an Android phone, of course, but on the fitness end of things, there's kind of no way to really sugarcoat this, but the Venu 2 will be a better option when it comes to a sports and fitness device, and it mainly comes down to the accuracy of the heart rate sensor as well as GPS. So for GPS accuracy, in regards to the total distance for an outdoor workout, on this road ride here I did with both devices, all of them are pretty similar, but the Galaxy Watch 4 recorded just slightly less distance than the Venu 2 as well as the other devices. Nothing drastic by any means, but it was a little bit noticeable. And then when we take a look at the GPS tracks in detail, you can see that the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Venu 2 do a pretty good job on these straight sections of open road, but where it starts to differ is on corners and curves, where the Watch 4 has a tendency of cutting corners a little, and if you cut enough corners, you'll come up with a little bit shorter total distance. And then here's another ride that I just did today, and on this ride, there's a little bit more discrepancy in the total distance, and this ride was through a lot of winding bike paths. So the Venu 2 track is in a light blue again, and you can see it lines up basically perfectly with the other test devices, and with the Watch 4, you can see it's not so great on nearly every corner where it either overshoots or cuts the corner. And again, all that adds up to a smidge less total distance, especially on longer activities. In the whole scheme of things, GPS accuracy is probably going to be okay on both these devices for most folks out there, but when it comes to hardware accuracy, this is kind of a different story. So here's the heart rate data from that first road ride, and as you can see, it's not so pretty for the Watch 4. So it actually started out okay for the first 4 minutes, but then it completely lost heart rate altogether, only to find it again here where I stopped. But when I got started again, it spiked a bit, then got lost again. Once again, though, when I stopped, it reacquired heart rate to only spike, and then it didn't track heart rate for the remainder of the ride. And for the Venu 2, you can see that it's not perfect by any means, but it never wanders that far off from the accurate heart rate that's being collected from the chest and arm heart rate monitors. So what I did was go out for another ride today just to see if it was just some sort of really bad luck the other day. And well, slightly better, I suppose, but still kind of unacceptable for my opinion, where on occasion it picked up heart rate, but there were just large portions of the ride where it didn't get heart rate at all. And with the Venu 2, it did have a few minor spikes here and there and a little blip here, but for the most part, it's still in line with the other heart rate sensors. So what about running? Well, definitely better, but you can see this portion right here where it read high for a while. In all fairness, the Venu 2 did have a spike right here, but what you can see that it recovers quickly and then gets back on track. The issue that I see with the Galaxy Watch 4 heart rate sensor is that it's pretty inconsistent, where sometimes I do get some decent readings, but then there's times that I get some fluctuations that it has a hard time recovering from, and then sometimes it doesn't collect heart rate data at all for me. Oh, and if you're curious about the distances that the watch is estimated for that 4-mile treadmill run, the Venu 2 was a smidge high and the Watch 4 was over a mile off. Now, one thing that can make these better is that if you can pair these with external heart rate sensors, and the good news is that you can pair these both with heart rate sensors, but the bad news is that the native Samsung Health app on the Galaxy Watch 4, it actually doesn't have the support. You can only pair external heart rate straps with compatible third-party apps like Google Fit. But with the Venu 2, you can pair heart rate straps, you can pair speed and cadence sensors, foot pods, temperature sensors, as well as Garmin Vario radar and lights. And we're getting on the home stretch now, but in terms of training feedback, both these devices will provide a VO2 max score for running, but with the Venu 2 also does have a feature called body battery, which gives you a general indication of your energy levels throughout the day based on your sleep and activity level. And lastly, I also wanted to go over the accompanying smartphone apps that you'll need with these devices. So with the Watch 4, you'll need both the Samsung Gear app as well as the Samsung Health app. You'll manage the watch and the firmware through the Samsung Gear app, and then Samsung Health is used for your health and fitness data. And then if you have a Samsung phone, you'll also need the Samsung Health Monitor app to record your ECG and measure blood pressure. And then with the Venu 2, there's really only one app that's required, and that's going to be Garmin Connect, where you'll manage the watch and you'll also be able to access all your health, wellness, and fitness data all just in one app. So for the actual accompanying smartphone apps, Garmin probably has the advantage here with Garmin Connect, where you'll manage the watch and all your data just in one place. But on the other hand, the Watch 4 does have the capability of leveraging all those apps that are available on the Google Play Store for Wear OS. And with the Venu 2, it does have an app store sort of thing called Connect IQ, where it has different apps, watch faces, and data fields that you can add to your watch. So these are two very different smartwatches, and choosing between these two is going to come down to what you're specifically looking for in a watch. So first off, if you have an iPhone, you can't consider the Watch 4 just because it's only compatible with Android phones. However, if you do have an Android phone, it provides a pretty great smartwatch experience, like the ability to take calls on the watch itself, those robust text replies, as well as the option to do those things without a phone if you purchase the LTE version. But if you're more sports and fitness focused and you don't care as much about that call and text functionality, the Venu 2 will serve you better in this department with better GPS and heart rate accuracy, as well as better battery life. Anyhow, I'll have links down in the description below where you can purchase any of these devices, and those are going to be affiliate links that do help support the channel without costing you anything additional. And if you did find the information in this video useful, don't be shy about hitting that like button down below, and also subscribing to the channel for plenty more in-depth sports tech reviews that are coming soon. In the meantime, have fun out there, and we will see you in the next video.